Hello friends. Today I took 3 old antique, maybe vintage, crystal candle holders, tapered candle holders. You'll see. And I turned them rusty crusty. You can do glass like that and make it look like metal. It's mind blown. I know. But don't fear. I also have some salvaged wood for you. So fun. Let's get started. I started out by drawing these little birds because I'm going to draw them on this old reclaimed wood and take them over to my scroll saw and cut them out. So I just cut them out of paper, and then I'm just going to put them on the board where I want it and trace around it. This is some old fencing that was donated to me, and I've been using it in my crafts, and I love it. So I'm just going to trace around it with a Sharpie so that it's easy for my old eyes to see. And then you'll see I'm going to take it over to my scroll saw, which is actually in my craft cottage. Has a nice little vacuum to catch the sawdust. And here it goes. I sped this way up. I really wish I could work this fast. But anyway, it's very easy to do. I just take my time. It's very relaxing for me to sit there and cut something out. So I cut this little bird out, and then I actually am saving the piece that I cut it out from to do a second DIY with. And you will see how that works out. And here are the 2 pieces. There's the bird, and then there's the other piece. And then you can see I'm pushing all that sawdust down for the vacuum to suck up. Now I'm going to take my finger sander and I'm going to scuff this up because I want it to look, rustic. This is a very rustic, salvaged wood DIY. So I'm getting it, I don't even want it smooth. I'm just, I'm roughing it up with the sandpaper, not smoothing it out with the sandpaper. I want the edges to look worn where I cut it so it doesn't look, like it's fresh cut. I apologize for my voice because I just spent 6 days in bed with the flu. And so I still sound a little bit rough, but I feel great. I'm going to take vintage linen and an old chippy brush. And I'm going to offload most of the paint. And then I'm end up doing it pretty heavy. I just start out lightly and then just keep going over it where I want it. I ended up putting a little bit more paint on my brush and just using a lighter hand. And you can see I'm doing that on both pieces. Now on this larger piece, I'm thinking it could be a hanging piece as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tap one of these little sawtooth hangers in there, and you can see that my little piece broke. No worries, we'll just take a little bit of Tite Bond Quick and Thick glue and a clamp and make it right as rain. Now for our little bird, I'm going to take a soft cloth, clean cloth, and just buff it. I'm just going to act like I'm buffing it. This is going to prepare my surface for my transfers. A lot of people use sealers. I do not. I'm going to use the Lover of Flowers IOD transfer booklet, and there are some beautiful florals in here with some beautiful verbiage as well. I'm just going to take this little, I believe this was an almond blossom, and I'm going to use the tool that comes, this one didn't actually come with it. It came with a different transfer set, but I'm going to rub that transfer all the way down, all over, and then I'm going to start to lift up. I like to make that little wave in it and just push behind it. And if something doesn't lift up, I'm just going to lay it back down and press over it again. This is such an easy technique, and transfers are so easy to use and elevate your DIYs so much. I'm going to clear it with some clear wax by DIY. I get all my DIY products from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs, www.unicorndustdesigns.com, And her link to her website is always in my description box below, in case you forget it. I'm just going to tie a little twine necklace around her neck, and she will be done. Speaking of birds, I'd like to remind you about Matthew 6:25 through 30, where the Lord says, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about what you will wear. Look at the birds of the air. They don't reap, they don't sow, they don't store, but your heavenly Father feeds them. And are we not much more valuable than the birds? And can any of us add a single hour to our day by worrying? No. So if you're worrying today, please just remember to be still and know that He is God and He is there for you and He is listening and He cares about you. And I'm always free by email if you want to email me and ask for prayer, or you just need someone to talk to. I'm doing the same technique to our second little piece with the transfer and the wax. And then I'm going to take my little finger sander and just go over it a little bit.
I hope that you're enjoying this video so far. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kendra and you're watching Late Night Creations. So glad you clicked on this video. It would not be a Late Night Creations video without some spindles. So let's see what we can do with spindles today.
I picked up these beautiful little taper candle crystal holders on Whatnot. And so I took them outside and I gave them a coat of espresso spray paint. And then I have this little birdhouse from Dollar Tree and this beautiful spindle. This came off of a piece of furniture that was a little bit mid-century modern, and I absolutely love it. I sanded it down, and I actually sanded it for a previous project and never got to it. And so here it is. And I'm going to just put DIY clear wax on it, and then I'm going to take my soft little t-shirt and just buff it, and look how beautiful it brings out that color. So pretty. Now we're going to work on this birdhouse. I am going to take Farm Fresh by DIY, and I'm going to paint the body of the house with it, not the roof or the perch. And then I'm going to, once I get that done and it's completely dry, I'm going to take some Mod Podge. You can use regular school glue for this. It works just as good, and it is a little bit cheaper. So I'm going to put a thick, healthy coat because I want a lot of crackle. Now, wherever you put more glue, you're going to get more crackle. So I am going to now take some Farm Fresh. I'm going to add a little bit of layered chocolate to it to make it a little bit darker. I'm showing you there what it looks like all dried up, when it's all dried up. Okay, so I've got it mixed up in this little cup, and I'm getting quite a bit on my brush because you get one stroke. You can't paint back and forth. You get to go down and then down again, or back up the other side. Because if you go over it again, it's going to pull that wet glue up with it, and then you're going to have a mess on your hands. Ask me how I know. Now, this Mod Podge is still wet. It is not dry. Let me know in the comments below if you've used this method before. Do you like it? What is your favorite method of crackle, or do you even like crackle? Crackle is not really one of my favorite techniques or looks, actually, but I do like it. And you can see that it's already starting to bubble and to crack. And I like when there's even, depending on the project, I like whenever there's a little bit of paint that pooled a little bit, and it'll kind of bubble with the heat of the heat gun. and that just makes more chippy goodness. Okay, I'm going to show you that I'm doing the front of the little birdhouse as well, and it turns out so cute. It looks like old thick paint, so it looks like it's been painted two different colors of the same color, or maybe it's just sun damaged. It looks really good. Okay, and then what am I showing? I'm just showing you the crackle. I'm so excited about it. Okay, so then I'm going to take some watered down weathered wood by DIY. Now this was just, I had a tiny little bit left in this jar, and so I just added water to it, and I use this as a stain. So I'm just going to apply it with this brush, sponge brush. I'm going to take a wet wipe, and I'm just going to kind of wipe it back a little bit. I think I actually did maybe 2 coats. Now on this, it was hard to get it up next to the house without getting it on the paint. So I just dabbed it on there, and then I dabbed it off. Okay, so now we've got the roof done and the perch done, the porch, the perch, the base done, and now we're going to work on the top. I have this bark left from the fall when I went to visit Myra from Farm Fresh Designs 59 in North Carolina, and we picked some of this bark up off the ground that had fallen off her trees and left it in a Ziploc bag so there'd be no bugs or critters and all the things to, make it safe. And now I'm using it in my DIYs, and I absolutely love how it turns out on top of this little birdhouse. So you can see that I'm just laying it out how I want, and then I'll just use some Tite Bond Quick and Thick and some hot glue. And I don't know if the Tite Bond is absolutely necessary, but I just like to use both. And then I just make it work. It's like a little puzzle. You can just put it in however you want to, and then you can just break off whatever you don't want. And so I did that on the top, and then that front tiny little piece on the ledge on the front. There's just a tiny little front piece. I didn't do it on the overhang, just the front piece. Okay, so I'm going to glue that last little piece down there, and then I'm going to, I think I'll wait till it dries a little bit, and then I try to break that off the side without breaking the part that's on the roof. I was a little nervous about it, I'm not going to lie. I was afraid it was going to break my whole piece off, but it did not. Anyway, I did the entire top of the roof with that. Now I'm taking the patina paint in the color Iron by Dixie Belle. This stuff is absolutely amazing. If you don't have any, if you never used any, and you like this look, go and get you some, because you will want to make everything look like rusted metal. Okay, now it's dry, and now I'm going to give it its second coat. I decided I needed to protect my work surface because this gets really messy. So because we are going to work with it while this coat is wet. So I'm dabbing it on with this dabber, and I'm going to give this whole piece, not the underside, just the top side, a really good thick coat. I'm daubing it on there really thick, not where it's dripping off. Okay, now they have several different colors of this spray. They have a blue, a green, a yellow, and I thought it would be better to try to do it with the sponge, but for some reason this color wasn't working, but it sprays out really good. Now when I go to use the blue, which actually turns green, tell me, it just was sputtering. So it did work better to apply it with the sponge. And this is the one that looks like verdigris. So, yeah. Oh, it turns out so good. Okay, I get excited watching all over again, like it's the first time I've seen it. Okay, so I'm going to dry it with the heat gun because I feel like that it intensifies the color when you do that. And that's how it turned out. I'm going to do all 3 of those glass candle holders with that same method. I'm not going to show you the other 2 when I do them later because it's redundant. Now I'm mixing up some resin. equal parts of A and B. I'm using my little scale to measure it, and I'm going to mix it until that cup is a little bit warm in my hand. And I'm going to pour it in that little well where you would put the taper candle. And then I'm going to put my spindle in there. Now, when I started to put the spindle in there, guess what? It started to ooze out everywhere. So I just took that little dropper and sucked out some of it and fixed it right up. Now, I let that dry completely and let that set up. And now that thing is in there for good. It is not going anywhere. I'm going to take a little Spanish moss. I'm going to, put it in the birdhouse like we do. So it looks like the bird is nested. There's a website where they have these cameras in the birdhouses, and it shows the birds nesting and the bird bringing everything in, and they speed it way up and cut a bunch of it out, but it's so cute. I could just sit there and watch that for hours, watch those birds bring in stuff and nest and get ready to lay their eggs. Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. So yeah, I don't even remember what the name of the website is, so don't ask me. I'm going to use a little Tap Bond Quick and Thick and some hot glue, and I'm going to attach the house to the spindle. Now, I found this little resin bird in my little resin pieces, and she is so cute, and she just was going to fit on that little birdhouse so perfectly. So I used some Queen Bee by DIY, and then I'm going to take white wax when that Queen Bee paint is completely dry. I'm going to take the white wax by DIY, and I'm going to cover the entire thing with it. And then I'm going to take my little soft cloth, and I'm going to wipe back most of that white off the top to bring out all the beautiful little details in her little feathers, her little eyeball, and her little tail. And then she's just going to sit right there and just pay attention. Now, right where this is attached, you can see a little bit of that white resin. So I'm just going to wrap some jute twine around it, because jute twine goes great with birdhouses, because that's something that a bird would pick up to build their nest. So I'm just going to wrap that around there and make it look like I wanted to do that. I'm going to tie it just in a little knot. Then I'm going to go over to my little bag of tiny pieces of greenery, and I'm going to pick out a couple little pieces of leaves and just poke them here and poke them there and glue them down until I have it look like I want it to look. And you'll have to let me know what you think about this little birdhouse. And there's a lot of different layers to it. This little spindle came off of an adorable little piece of vintage furniture that had seen its better day. And so I just salvaged the spindles off of it. And so I'm just sanding it down and getting all of that finish off of there. And it wasn't a real thick shellac finish, so it was easy to sand. I just used my finger sander. And then I wiped it down with a damp cloth, or probably a wet wipe, because it's been freezing at night. And so I've had to keep the water off at the craft cottage so that the pipes don't freeze. Now I'm going to take vintage linen, and I'm going to I gave it 2 coats of vintage linen. And I'm going to take faded burlap by DIY, and oopsie, I'm going to do a dry brush on it. I'm using this old stencil brush. Pretty sure I never used it for stenciling, but we're going to use this to do some dry brushing on this little spindle. I'm just going to go back and forth until I get the amount or the look that I'm looking for. I usually start out pretty light-handed and then just go heavier where I want it heavier. And if you get it too heavy, you can always go back with the white and dry brush white on top. I'm going to go in with the sander, and I'm going to lightly sand in a few places just to bring back a little bit of the wood, because we're going to make a bird nest, and, you know, it needs to kind of look old. Now, I'm going to put some clear wax on this because I want to do the gray grunge wax, but I don't want it to be too dark. I still want it to look like it's supposed to be white. I just want it to look like it's been outside. Okay, so then I'm going to buff it out and get all the excess off with my little white cloth. It looks like I'm really trying to tear that up, but I don't know what I was doing. Okay, so here's the gray grunge wax by Dixie Belle, and I'm just going to, you'll just see. I'm just going to put some on and wipe it off. And I love to use those makeup brushes to do that. Okay, here are the other two candlestick holders. Candle holders. They just turned out so pretty. Now I have this stick that's from one of those foam brushes, and it fit perfect in that spindle. And I'm going to use that because it fit on the top of this candle holder, and nothing was going down in the well. So I'm going to use that little dowel stick to go into the resin, and that's going to hold up just perfect. Now, it didn't ooze out like the other one did, but I was pouring very gently and very carefully to make sure that I didn't have any ooze out. And same thing. Okay, so now that one is all set up over there, and now we're going to work on the top piece. And what we're going to do is turn this upside down because I want to make this be a little bird nest stand. And so I'm just going a little bit at a time till I get enough in there. And then now it's all set up, and look how beautiful this looks. So we're going to make a bird nest in that top part. You could also put a candle in there if you wanted to. Oh, I'm going to add a little bit of jute twine to this part of it too. You couldn't really see any of the resin, but I just felt like it looks more finished with a little bit of twine down there. I'm just going to wrap it around, putting a little bit of hot glue here and there to secure it and to hold it down. And then just take my scissors and snip it off, and there we go. Now for the messy stuff. Okay, I'm taking some Spanish moss that I got from Hobby Lobby, just making a little nest and pop it in the top of there. And I'm going to take some little eggs that have been in my stash for I don't know how long, 3 or 4 years. And this one is done.
That's all for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, friends. I really appreciate it. You know the drill. Thumbs up, comments, leave the comments down below. That's how we can communicate. You can also email me. My email is in the description box in every single video. Love to get your emails. Thank you to all of those of you who continually email me pictures of your products, your projects. I love it, love it, love it. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.